Now that the film is shot, the next procedures goes through several phases. We had enough money to shoot the film, so the film is shot, as was previously said, on 57 cans. We got 57 rolls of film. Well, now we got to go through the next phase of trying to get money to process those 57 rolls of cans. Post-production is the editing process, and that in itself can take up to another year. When you are shooting on film, the process is taking that negative to a film lab. The film lab will process the negative, and what they do is they transfer it to a digibeta. And it doesn't have to be a digibeta. That's what we wanted, and that is like the master tape. It remains. You don't touch it. You keep it in its box and never bring it out. And then from that digibeta tape that was made a transfer onto, you make a transfer to a mini DV tape. The mini DV tape will have time code and key code burn-in, which are basically binary code numbers that lets the computer know where you are in the film. From those mini DV tapes is what you work off in post-production. So you edit everything on mini DV, and as you're editing it, then you have to start working on the sound. The sound that you get is on location. It's basically the actors talking. Usually you're always trying to have it into a clean room or a clean environment where you're not hearing much ambient sound, as it's called. Cars going by, air conditioners going off, dogs barking, airplanes flying overhead. That's the quickest way to yell cut on a scene on location. So you're always wanting to have the sound as clean as possible where you're just hearing the actors talk. So once you're in post-production and after you're finished with a good rough cut of the edit, you have to go into obtaining Foley sound and wild sound, and that is bringing sound effects that the scene requires and laying it down on different audio tracks. And then when you're finally finished with the good rough cut or the cut itself, you have to go into what is called EQing the sound. Now usually that's taken to a professional company, and it's very, very technical. However, for instance, as an example, you could be shooting on an ocean and you're having one reverse shot of one person, a reverse shot of the other person as they're talking to each other. And when you hear it in the cutting room, you have these waves in the background and they just don't match when you're going back and forth with the different editing cuts. So EQ, professional companies are very good at taking somehow, some way these waves and just kind of making them all blend in together. And so you're EQing the sound. You're making everything flow well. And there's nothing that's out of the ordinary when you go from one cut to another cut from the same scene. So after you finish all of that, again, which is money to burn, that's very expensive to go to an EQ company and a Foley artist and have them do it. Now you have to, what is called, go back to that digibeta I talked about. You got to go back to the digibeta for what is called an online editing, and that beta is clean with no time code, key code burn-in, and it is also the best quality of the video transfer. Yet we want to go back even further because we want this film to be shown in theaters across the country. So what happens is that we not only go back to digibeta, we also go back to the film negative. And what happens is that the film lab will obtain a negative cutter, and through these time code and key code layouts that are in the tape, it's what is called EDLs, Edit Decision List. And they'll take all that stuff and that gives them reference points of where to cut the negative. This whole process is called matchback, and it's the most expensive process in filmmaking. And they will go match back to the film, and then they will make a clean negative, entire cut of what you have been cutting all along on the videotapes. Once all that is done, you now have the opportunity of submitting your work to film festivals. There are film festivals all over the world, and if you're lucky enough to get in, particularly at a sizable film festival, those festivals are always flanked by suits from the studios, from It could be from huge studios like Paramount, 20th Century Fox, Columbia Pictures, even down to smaller studios, smaller companies, production companies. When you see films from Paramount or 20th Century Fox, many of those films actually were produced on the set of Paramount or 20th Century Fox. Yet most of those films that have their labels on it, they were not made by them. They were made by schmucks like me who go out and make a film, and they look at it and they see it either through a film festival or through other contacts, and they look at it and think we can make some money off of it. So basically what their existence is that they are there for distribution deals. And they will step in and they will either purchase your film or offer some kind of thing that is dealt with attorneys. And then they'll take that film and then they will distribute it across the country, either to selected theaters or to a major release. And then from there they'll take that and they'll try to go for international sales, they'll try to go for a video release. And they're not doing this because they think that you work so hard or they think that you have art. They are doing it for one reason. They think they can make some bucks off of it. Will people go see Breeders? I don't know. When you're in my position as an independent filmmaker, the best thing you can hope for is A, have a good story, and B, film it the best way you can. The production looks clean, the acting looks clean, everything looks professional. And then you cross your fingers. It is a rolling of the dice. You don't know what's going to happen. You could have a Blair Witch Project, and then you could have a Heaven's Gate. It's a hard call. It's a crazy business. It's a crazy business. So we'll see.